Look at
that. I know you better.
My mother took the album off and put it in the sleeve, and she says you can listen to it again when you buy a record player for your room.
Tony, I'm gonna drop kick you, man.
Got to right about that bend there.
And that's where it started coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the problems with, vintage electronics and that, Oh, is this did we put this on?
Yes, you did.
Oh, cool. Hey, we gave you a good cart, too. Another reason why we don't ship. If we had shipped this to you, let's say you lived in Arizona, and we tested, obviously, because, we put a new cartridge on it, we set it up, and everything's good. Unfortunately, he got it home, and after a couple weeks, he had a channel dropping out. So what we had him do was take the left and the right and swap them. And when he did that, the other speakers started playing. So we know the amplifier's good at that point. The next thing I always have people do is unseat these head shells because they're spring-mounted little pins inside that tone arm. And if they're not pushing all the way forward, they're not making contact. So we tried that, reseating it down, making sure it was nice and snug, and he was still having the same problem. So the next thing we tried, tell people just to give these a little bend, your audio cables every, 4 or 5 inches. And sure enough, he said by the time you got about, 9 inches out from the back of the turntable, your channel came back in. Isn't that what happened? Yeah. Obviously we're going to take care of this. We want it to work a lot longer than that with, trouble-free. So, unfortunately, it was just something that we didn't catch when it was in here. We're going to put new cables on it for him. We'll get it working good and everything. I appreciate you being understanding because, it sucks. You have to drive back in and you have to wait on us to do it. And it'll probably take us maybe an hour and a half. If you've got stuff to do, or if you want to come back tomorrow, we can call you later, whatever you want to do.
You can come back tomorrow, so that way it gives you a little more time.
Sure. We'll get Tony on this and we'll get it going.
I'm good.
Okay, cool. I appreciate it.
I saw what were we watching last night? It was
Shrinking. Did you notice the balance?
No, I didn't notice that.
The balance was cranked all the way to the left, and I was like, it was on a TV show. They had a Marantz, and you know how some of the Marantzes have like this balance here. I took a photo of it.
Did you?
Yeah, it's cranked all the way to the right, and they're dancing, and I'm just like,
you know what I'm thinking, Tony? Normally we put these on there because they have a ground in there. Yeah, there's a ground connected to the cable. If you look over here, I just noticed this. Might as well do a shameless plug. Yeah, it's got a separate ground. That means that we could actually use
our new ones.
These. This is our new 1 meter RCA cables. If you look at what was originally on there. There's no additional shielding. They're just standard RCA cables. Huge improvement is what this is going to be. And it'll look cool. Blue cables are always cooler.
And everybody will know where to bring it back to because it says Skylabs.
It might be too short.
I don't think so. Because look, hold that in there. Granted, you got the extra 6 inches there, but you're losing 7 inches, maybe.
Let's just put those on.
You have a nice store. It's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really cool. Saw your YouTube clip on probably 2 or 3 weeks ago.
On the Macintosh, I could kind of hear a little bit.
Right, on the Macintosh, on those speakers.
Yeah.
And didn't really put 2 and 2 together that you all were here in Iowa.
Yeah.
And
you guys, you're just east of us, right?
We're in Wooster, Ohio, and my wife is from Des Moines. Yeah. And we're here visiting her family and so forth.
Yeah.
And so I put on my Facebook page that we're going to go on vacation in Des Moines, and had 1 or 2 people, I think, say, you got to stop by Skylabs.
Yeah. I didn't see that. I usually see most of your guys' posts. You mainly focus on Macintosh.
Vintage Macintosh.
Yeah.
Vintage Macintosh, yeah.
They want to hear the You wanted to hear the towers.
So I came to the speakers from.
Well, you guys had some XR19s not too long ago,
Yes.
I think. Did you have the 20s as well?
We've had the 20s in the past.
Okay.
We've had the 22s. We just sold the 30s, the huge ones with the large bass
Yeah.
towers. I don't know if you've seen our picture where we have a whole wall of Macintosh speakers, the ML2s and ML4s stacked up to the ceiling and so
Wow.
forth. And so, yeah.
You know what's crazy about those Macintosh, and we didn't get to put that in the story, but the original owner bought them, and he ended up in a retirement home here in Des Moines.
Okay.
And he had those in the retirement home. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah, like an apartment.
Right.
And I can't imagine.
Is that how you had it set up where they were turned upside down and so forth?
The story,
That was really.
the story I got was that Macintosh sent 2 techs to Des Moines to set those up for him and
Okay.
place them in his original home. They didn't do that in the retirement home, I assume.
But if you ever decide to sell those, let us know.
You're the second person today.
We do have the setup for it. We have enough square footage where we could set that up, and always give your store credit for they came from your
Yeah.
place kind of thing. So, but yeah,
You know, it's like I said, I've heard them, in this room, in the back room, and then I had the original place was like it's 5,000 square foot huge building, so I've never sat in front of them in a good room,
right.
and that's the whole goal with them has been to get to enjoy them for like a year. Tony, I'm gonna drop kick you, man.
Well, unfortunately, the Macintosh speakers, I don't know if it's the same in this vicinity, but up in the general Cleveland area, up our way or over our way, the Macintosh speakers aren't really that desirable. I
They're not
guess.
here either.
But I have a store full of them. I have them at home. I love them if they're set up right and
sure.
tweaked with the
EQ,
EQ and so forth, and
103 EQ.
and but I like better hooking those up too, instead of using the EQ, using the C33 and things of that nature with the EQ.
Yeah.
I think they sound phenomenal. Sound really, really good.
Yeah, I don't bag on people for their taste. That's ridiculous.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
because they're not for me. It doesn't mean that I think they shouldn't be
Right.
for anybody. That's,
Right. Yeah.
It's asinine.
Now, how is I know in our area, most of our customers are from the general Cleveland area. Back in the day, back in the 70s, maybe 80s, the heyday of 2-channel audio, there was probably an audio store almost on every corner, back then. And there's so much Macintosh, so much of it still that left to buy.
Yeah.
How is it in this area so far as Macintosh is concerned? Is it popular or?
It is and it isn't. The problem is we don't really get a lot of it in to see what the demand is.
Okay.
We seem to get a lot of MA6100s. Every once in a while we get like a 21 or a 2505.
Okay.
Maybe a C38, a preamp, but that's it.
Yeah.
Right now I'm strong on tube tuners from Macintosh, but they don't really have much value.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to figure out what the actual market is on them in Des Moines.
Right.
Because we just don't get a lot. And I don't source equipment from outside this building. Everything that we sell comes in the door.
Okay.
I just honestly don't have time.
Right.
To do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
At one point, I think you guys didn't you try another location? Am I thinking of the wrong?
Our store that we have right now is our main store in Wooster. We had a smaller satellite store in Akron. We've been in business for full time for 12 years. We had that store for probably 9. But that store was focused on, because of where it was at, was focused more on budget audio equipment. And we just found that in the main, it was hard for us to compete with marketplace prices.
Yeah.
Because we would have a $275 turntable that we have serviced, a new cartridge, new stylus, new belt.
Yep.
And have, money in it
Yep.
for $275,
Sure.
and someone could come in our store and look on their phone and see the same thing on Marketplace for $60.
Yep.
You know, so just couldn't compete with that.
Yeah.
Where with our store, our main store is high end,
Yeah.
not just Macintosh, but mainly Macintosh. There's really no competition. I mean, there's eBay, and we can't compete with eBay prices. Our prices are much more inflated than eBay.
Yep.
But we have found part of our success has been a lot of the guys have bought on eBay. They get their gear, it's damaged, it's not as described.
Yep.
So they'll drive from Pittsburgh, from Michigan, from Cleveland.
Yep.
And
They're buying your brand.
right,
They're buying
right.
the fact that you're going to stand behind it. And that's the same thing with us. I mean, we're over eBay prices as well.
Right.
You know, and we have a few come in every year that, you know, kind of scoff at the prices, thinking the
right.
same thing. If I have to say to them, you know, you don't know how many times people have brought something in they purchased on eBay. After that's been repaired, they will say, I should have bought it from you, because
right.
the cost to repair plus what they paid for on eBay, they would have been better off buying it here. And, you know, you only have to explain that a couple times a year.
Right. Right.
Most people get it. You know, yes, we're over the price of Marketplace, but we are here. You don't have to meet somebody at their house. You don't have to worry about it still working in 2 weeks, because we've got a reputation to uphold that if something happens, we're going to take care of it. Most people understand that,
Right.
I think.
Right. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Right.
there's some comfort in a purchase when you're buying from a brick and mortar store.
Right.
That, you know, we have to stand by what we sell. Otherwise, we're not going to get business.
Right. Right.
So,
Exactly.
This album is actually the first album I ever bought. I was 11 years old, and I was 6th grade in junior high, elementary school. And on the last day of school, they allowed us to bring in our records to play on the record player. And I listened to this album, and I thought, man, this is a cool album. I got to buy it. So I went home, and my birthday was in like a month. So my mother said, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, I want this album. So we searched the record stores in our neighborhood. And finally, we found this album. And my mother brought it home and wrapped it up for me and said, you can listen to it on your birthday. And I said, great. So my birthday came up in June. And we opened up the record, and we put it on her big console all-in-one stereo that my family had in the living room. We listened to the entire album front and back. And then after we finished, my mother took the album off and put it in a sleeve, and she says, you can listen to it again when you buy a record player for your room. So for the rest of the summer, I raked leaves and mowed grass to buy me a record player so I could listen to my birthday album in my own room. And I still have the original album. I've bought some since then, of course, and I'll buy this one just to have it at a different location, because I have console stereos now in different houses. So I will take this album and take it to one of my houses so I can listen to it up there. But it's a great album.
Very good. Yeah.
Grand Funk Railroad.
Grand.
My name is Vincent.
Okay, Vincent, thanks.
Yep. So we'll buy this. And thank you very much for having it, because I really love this album.
We, along with the Macintosh gear, we focus on, in our area, for home use, 10-inch reel-to-reel tape machines are big.
yeah.
And oddly enough, we focus on the old vintage, especially tube floor model consoles. We restore those.
Yeah.
Usually they're family heirloom pieces.
Yeah.
And that's huge,
Yeah,
very huge
yeah.
in our area.
We used to do it too. I mean, that was our bread and butter, was
Right,
consoles. That's
right,
what we,
yeah.
and jeez. Oh, the moving and the waiting on parts and
Right.
trying to find, you know, there was several of those cartridges, especially RCA and Motorola, that were proprietary, you know, built
Right.
in.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and there is no, you can't get them. The other problem we found was that because it is such a niche thing, and I'm sure you have this too, where people are bringing those from, you know, 5 state areas around you,
Yeah.
it's impossible to make it bulletproof. And when
Right,
you're
right,
charging the price you are for a restoration like that, which you deserve, there's always still that possibility that they're going to drive 2 states away with it, and in 3 months they're going to have an issue with it.
Yeah.
And then there's the next problem, which
Right.
is
Right.
how do you accommodate,
Right,
you know, to
right.
fix that? good on you guys for, doing that because
Right,
it's needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell people, you want to get into the vintage audio game, whether it's repair or resell, start servicing consoles. You won't need to spend a dime in advertising.
Right.
Once the word gets out that
Yeah.
you do it, you'll have people.
So we don't do hardly any advertising at all.
Neither do we.
We have our Facebook presence and Instagram,
Yep.
and that's pretty much
Yeah.
it.
And that's all you need.
And we've had people ask us about our website. We don't have a website, which websites are fine. We just have never really utilized one or necessarily needed one.
Yeah.
But at this point, after 12 years, a lot of word of mouth,
Yeah.
and so forth. And we're surprised at how well Instagram and Facebook has spread,
Yep.
and everything. And
Yep.
we focus on being a brick and mortar store. Very, very little shipping.
Yeah.
Very little shipping. But I'm always looking for Macintosh.
Yeah, no, I can tell that's kind of
Yeah.
your,
Yeah,
your focus, your bread and
Right.
butter, and why
Yeah.
not? I mean,
Right.
you can always, I don't know, we've never had one that we couldn't fix.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
always a source, and even, calling up Macintosh even a couple of years ago, they'd send us updated schematics on stuff, legacy product that's, 30, 40 years old, and they're still taking those phone calls where,
Right.
you can't call anybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Pioneer, Sansui, Marantz, any of them, even though Pioneer, Marantz are still in business, they're like, you're out of your mind. That was,
Right,
we've been bought and sold 10 times since that product was manufactured. We don't even know where the manuals are.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Macintosh always has that added value in it, at least in my opinion,
Right.
with serviceability.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You see a sign. He's got a wall of sound too.
Oh, you guys have one too?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah. Right.
It's the whole wall is literally all speakers.
You all hooked up at the same time?
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish you'd seen this photo or
That's
not.
my favorite thing. Whenever I go in, I just stare at that.
That is absolutely. Wow. Yeah, that is cool. Got a Pioneer 909, and what is it, a 6100?
That is a yes. Yes.
Is that your most common too? You see more 6100s than anything?
See a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Brian and Eric from Wooster Vintage.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely go check them out. Join their Facebook and Instagram because it's great. Eye candy galore.
Yeah.